Continuing our coverage of the Murdaugh murder trial with Scott Mongillo of the Bland Richter law firm. Scott, thank you so much for being with us again and to offer more information inside as to what's happening in that courtroom right now. Of course, we know today that the court proceedings were interrupted when Judge Clifton Newman announced that the courtroom had to be evacuated.
Yeah, at about 12:25, Judge Newman came on and said that the building had to be evacuated.
Right.
He didn't say why. And he said we'd break for lunch until 2:30, and then they came back at about 3:15 to continue testimony.
Right. This, of course, I imagine would cause a lot of upset in the courtroom. You've been a lawyer for a really long time. Has anything like this ever happened?
Yeah, I've been a lawyer for over 23 years. I've been involved in numerous multi-week trials. This has never happened to me, luckily, in my career.
What do you think this does in terms of the people who are in the courtroom? Of course, the state, the prosecution, the defendant, the people who are visiting, the entire team, all of the administrators. What does this do to in terms of the attitude and security of being in this place?
Sure, I can tell you when I was there on Monday, everyone was very professional and very helpful. The clerk of court staff, the law enforcement, and the mayor, I think they're doing a great job down there. I hope this is just a non-event and the trial continues.
We also, of course, want to spend some time, Scott, today talking about the expert. We heard the gunshot residue expert on the stand today. There was some cross-examination. This is a very important part of this entire puzzle, the gunshot residue, what it means. Give us an idea of what the defense needs to do to make this witness and this testimony effective or ineffective for Alec Murdaugh.
Right, yes, that's the most important thing, the cross-examination. So this was the first witness out of this stand. This was Megan Fletcher, the forensic scientist for SLED, and Jim Griffin crossed her at the get-go. And his purpose in cross-examination is to seed doubt in the jury's minds through his questions. Not so much her answers, but through his questions, through how he asks them, body language and demeanor. And so I wrote a few of the good ones down. One of the very first questions out of the box was, where you sit right now, and of course she's in the witness box, where you sit right now, there is the possibility of GSR, correct? And she had to answer yes. And you can remember the pictures of the holding the weapons with the gloves on, okay? She had to admit that right there in that jury box, GSR could have fallen and been on a chair. And of course what that tells the jury is, that gun was never fired in the courtroom. No one was killed in the courtroom. This GSR could be anywhere. So
GSR, gunshot residue. And we are talking, of course, the 22 people, we're talking about the jury, 22 eyes on this witness. They are listening, paying very close attention. This is a community where a lot of people are familiar with gunshot residue and the fact that it can be transferred from one surface to another.
Absolutely. In the Marine Corps, I was a tank commander, and when Jim Griffin was done with his cross-examination, I thought I still had some GSR on me, and I haven't fired a tank in 25 years. I mean, he was very effective. And he also trapped her at one point in time. He asked her this, you are comfortable saying to this jury that 38 GSR particles were on the raincoat are significant, but one GSR particle on the seatbelt is not significant, correct? And this is a fight he wants to have because this is common sense for the jury. Of course, one is not as great as 38, but she fought with them and fought with them. And that's the fight he wants to have because it's not about the science, it's about common sense. And all the jurors know 38 GSR particles is more than one.
And Scott, of course, as you said, that it's not so much about her answers, it's the questions. Once those questions, the idea, the concern, those things, once they're in the minds and thoughts of the jury, then there's the issue of doubt.
Absolutely. And Jim did a great job. And I really think the importance to the scientific evidence for the state is this, right? This scientific evidence represents the locks on the doors and the bars on the window on the house the state's making. And of course, that house they want to make for Alec Murdaugh is a prison cell. And the only way to keep him out of the prison cell is through effective cross-examination, and that's what the defense did today.
One quick question about jury fatigue. You know, we're several weeks into this now, and it doesn't look like there's an end in sight, at least not in the near future. Is there the possibility, we know that your associate, your colleague, Eric Bland, talked about jury fatigue because of the sequestration. Do you think that that's something that might be setting in, that there's a possibility that jurors might say that this is going a little long?
Maybe, you know, they were told though up front it's a long trial. They were told to expect a long haul. So I think they're all, you know, aware of what's going to happen here, and this bomb threat and these things come up. So I think they're paying attention. From what I saw on Monday, they were paying attention. So I don't know how big of an issue it is, but we'll see.
Everything that has happened as a part of this process has been relevant to getting the truth.
Yeah, and I think the big thing you saw too today is the issue of appeal. There was a little give and take between Judge Newman and Jim Griffin at about 11 o'clock over an Exhibit 441, which is a text message from Alec Murdaugh to his paralegal, Miss Griswold. And the judge said that this text message was coming in, and of course Jim said, no, this is unfair, prejudicial evidence, and that set up the issue on appeal, the character evidence and all that. So if there is an appeal, that's what it's going to be about, the character evidence.
All right, so once again, the admissibility of some evidence based on the financial crimes related to character evidence. The issue of the possibility for appeal is something we'll talk about in tomorrow's conversation.
And tomorrow, Ronnie will be back with you. So all you Ronnie Richter fans out there, thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it.
All right, well, we've certainly enjoyed having you as well.
Thank
Scott,
you.
thank you so much for being in. And of